Deacon Ben to be our doctrinal speaker, and I know everyone knows Deacon Ben, so without further ado, thank you, Deacon. Our pleasure.
I'm so happy to be here again with you. I recognize a lot of faces from the CLW that we had at St. Raymond's Church in Dublin in February. And so I'm very happy to see many of you here again. And for those of you who I didn't have a chance to meet yet, I am Deacon Ben Agustin. I'm assigned at St. Jerome Church in El Cerrito, and I've been a deacon for 16 years. I made my Cursillo about 32 years ago at St. Benedict's in San Francisco, Decuria of St. James. The older I get, the more I realize that the reason why everybody claps is simply because it's amazing that we can still remember our Decuria. So today, I've been asked to talk about this topic of the people of God. And the phrase, the people of God, actually comes from one of the Vatican II documents. It's entitled Lumen Gentium, which is actually called in the vernacular the dogmatic constitution of the Church. Now, I made 25 copies of this handout, and if there's anybody who did not get a copy, can you raise your hand, please? Great. What I want you to do is after the talk, I want you to give me your email address, and I will send you the actual PDF file of this so you can print it out at home. So I apologize for not having sufficient copies. And I'm really glad to see so many people actually come out for a School of Leaders on a weeknight. So my hat's off to all of you. So what's in this handout? Well, the first thing you'll see is a page that's called Deacon Ben's Suggested Reading List. And I really believe that the purpose of a Cursillo is not to make you better Cursillistas. The purpose of the Cursillo Leaders Workshop is not really to make you better Cursillistas. The purpose of all of this is to make you better Christians. Okay? And so the formation that we have to really focus on is not first and foremost reading all of the Cursillo handbooks and other books that you can buy from the National Cursillo Center. Those are important, but they are not the foundation. What do you think is the foundation of our knowledge and our faith as a Christian? What ideas do you have? Bible. Oh, very good. So the Bible is kind of like the bedrock in terms of our learning. And then above that, we're kind of building a structure here. What do we have on top of that? What do you think might be above that? What augments our understanding of our faith besides what we read in the Bible, especially the New Testament? Okay, the teachings of the Church given to us by the Magisterium. And so we have to read other things like the Catechism. And we have two versions, okay? The easy version for Americans who may not be as theologically adept as, most people, at least maybe who are religiously minded, is the U.S. Catholic Catechism for Adults. And so you see that as the first book that I recommend that people buy. So these are actually books that I recommend you buy. And in that you will find a very good exposition of what comes a little bit later. The second book that you see, obviously, is the Catholic Study Bible. Why did I put that number 2? Simply because we're pretty much familiar with the Bible, right? We've been reading the Bible, you've heard a lot of Bible readings, but in the context of our faith, the Catechism summarizes the teachings of the Church. So I recommend that everybody buy the U.S. Catholic Catechism for Adults, and then buy the Catholic Study Bible, and then when you've read both of those books, you're ready for real meat. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, and that is from where I draw the meat of this topic, the people of God, because one of the books inside the Catechism of the Catholic Church is, as I said, Lumen Gentium. So if you turn over the page, you will see the documents of Vatican II. So when you've read the Catechism of the Catholic Church and the Bible and the U.S. Catholic Catechism, you are ready now to read the documents of Vatican II. Why do I say that? Because now you have a good foundation in Scripture and in the traditions of the Church to be able to understand the really long sentences that you'll find in the Vatican II documents. And after you've read that, then it's helpful to know the lives of the saints. And so there's a book called All Saints that I recommend you buy. Now notice the prices of all of these books are shown. These come right out of Amazon.com. And so if you really want to be a good cursista, what does that mean? It means you're a leader in the community. You have something, a spark. You have a certain kind of motivation and drive that the average Catholic who has not yet gone on a cursillo does not have yet. They will, once you invite them. But that means that your first and foremost priority is to learn about your faith, to be expert at your faith. It's not enough to get it secondhand. It's nice that we gather, and this is all good, the community gathering. But in your free time, during the work week, during your days, it's important to take time out to read and study every day. Because it's almost like, imagine you want to be a doctor, right? And you go through your pre-med subjects, and one of the things they make you do is they make you volunteer at a hospital, right? So I did this. I was a pre-med student at UC Berkeley. I had to go to Highland Hospital in Oakland, and I had to spend my weekends there at the emergency room, just watching what doctors do, and I learned a lot. But if I never went to med school and studied, would I be a good doctor just because I spent a lot of time around the emergency room? Not at all, right? And so the same thing for us as Catholics. We can't be on the periphery of the church, going to all these liturgical functions, saying our prayers, coming to gatherings like this, and expect that we're really going to grow in understanding and knowledge of our faith. We have to take the time to read. We have to take the time to read. I can't stress that enough. And during the 3 years that I'm going to be a spiritual director for the Filipino community, I am going to keep stressing that over and over and over again. You must read books. You must read books. You must spend the money and buy the books and then read the books. Then the last thing that I'd recommend that you take a look at is Barclay's new daily study Bible. 17 paperback books. This is really for the advanced student, right? This is a really, really good set of books and commentaries on the New Testament. My dad is 88 years old, turns 89 this year. I gave him the whole 17 volumes as a gift last year. And you know what he did? He stopped watching TV completely for the last year. He's read the whole series, 17 volumes, 5 times, cover to cover. It's that good. He understands in his advanced age that when you're about ready to meet the Lord, you better know him. Right? And so he's reading all the time. He's 88 years old. Really, really very inspirational for me and for my brother. By the way, I've been a deacon for 16 years. My brother's been a Catholic married old priest for 26 years. And so it's really through their example, because they're so studious and so knowledgeable and so religious, that my brother and I, the only 2 boys in the family, have made our profession of faith as ordained ministers in the Catholic Church. Now, enough of that. What else is in your handout? We're talking about Lumen Gentium, chapter 2. And so the very next page, after those recommendations of books to buy and to read, is really a summary of Lumen Gentium. And that continues for about a page and a half. So if you turn the page over, you'll see that there's a page on the back, and then half a page over here, and then what comes right after that? The actual text for the second chapter of Lumen Gentium. So how many of you actually own the Documents of Vatican II book? Raise your hand if you've actually bought them. I'd expect the deacon to have it. I do too. Very good. Okay, now, I won't ask you if you've read it all. Anyway, for those of you who don't have the complete Documents of Vatican II yet, here is chapter 2. It goes on for 6 pages. And so your homework, after I'm done with my little summary, is to actually read the entire text. It's only 6 pages. And then go back and read the summary, which is only a page and a half before that. Okay? So this is for you to take home and study, because it's really good stuff. I wanted to get introduced to what the writing is like in the Vatican II documents. All right, let's talk about, I forgot to add this stuff on here. So we've got the Bible, we've got the Catechism, we've got the Documents of Vatican II. Okay, we've got our foundation there, and we've got the saints. Now, why is it important to read about the saints? Any ideas? Well, number one, what does God call all of us to be? Four-letter word.
Communion of Saints. Intercessor.
Four-letter word. Starts with H. Great.
Okay.
Holy. That's the number one thing that God wants. He wants us to be holy, unequivocally. Drop the narcissism, drop the self-centeredness, drop the ego. He wants us to be holy. Be holy as God is holy. And that's a hard thing, especially in this day and age, especially in this culture, because our culture glorifies the self. Our culture glorifies the sense of, is this buzzing? Yeah. Glorifies the sense of look out for number one. What did the saints do? Did they look out for number one? No, they looked out for everybody else. They were willing to die, to be martyred for their faith, because they believed that that's what Jesus did. What did Jesus do? Who did he look out for? Himself? No. He only looked out for everyone else. So, if we really want to grow in our faith, it really helps to have the right role models, because almost all the role models you see on TV, and you see on the movies, and you see from whatever influences you, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. The only model that works is, number one, Jesus. And number two, the people throughout history that the church says have modeled themselves after Christ in a very effective way, the saints. So we want to read about the saints. Now, where does reading about the Crucio then fall in? Maybe after this. Okay, so now you're ready to start reading all the books, about the Crucio. And why do I say that? Because in my 30 years plus of being associated with the Crucio, I've noticed a very strange phenomenon happening. I've known people who are really good people. I've been in a Crucio group reunion for more than 30 years myself. And two of my brothers have actually become deacons, just like me, in the same Crucio group. But in most other groups, over the decades, many times what happens is it evolves, I didn't say evolve, it devolves into something that becomes very insular. It's something that's very self-serving. It's something that just really is about that group and not about really growing and expanding and becoming more saint-like. Sad to say. But that's what happens if there isn't a foundation of knowledge above and beyond the Crucio. And so I really want to stress that, because you all are great. Do you know that? You are all destined for greatness. You have the seed in you. Whether you actually achieve it or not is really based on how much seriousness and how much effort you put into it. If you put in the seriousness, you put in the time, the dedication, if you sacrifice all the other things that aren't really moving you to be what? Holy. If you sacrifice all the other things, if you forsake all the other distractions and obstacles in your own ego, in your own time, in your own life, you will attain this. You won't know it, but God will know it. He'll let you know. I think I'm not going to use this.
You can use the other one if you want to.
Yeah. And so, let's talk now about this whole concept of the people of God. We turn to this page, the one that says Lumen Gentium, the last 6 pages. I'm going to go through it kind of paragraph by paragraph to give you a sense of what the meat is. Oh, I should also preface my comments. When I teach, I kind of try to teach a little bit of love. Maybe what people's expectations are. Because I think people are a lot smarter than most people give people credit for. And there's this old story. It goes like this. A slightly drunk duck walked into a bar, and he said to the bartender, "Got any bread?" The bartender was surprised. He said, "No, get out of here." The duck came back, a few minutes later. He says to the bartender, "Got any bread?" The bartender's starting to get annoyed. I said, "No, now get out of here." The duck comes back a little bit later and says to the bartender again, "Got any bread?" The bartender's really exasperated. And he says, "If you come back here one more time, I'm going to nail your beak to the bar." Without missing the beat, the duck says to the bartender, "Got any nails?" The bartender says, "No." Without missing a beat, the duck says what? "Got any bread?" Appearances are deceiving, you know. You might think, somebody doesn't know very much, but they're actually a lot sharper than you expect. Okay? And so I always expect my audience, no matter who I'm talking to be smarter than anybody would ever expect. So that's what I talk to. So I'm going to talk about this whole idea of what is the people of God. Number one, read the first line. At all times and in every race, God has given welcome to whoever fears him and does what is right. So, who are counted among the people of God? Everybody, all races, in all times. Everybody has been counted as being part of the people of God. And then it says, God, however, does not make men holy and save them merely as individuals, without bond or link to one another. Rather, it pleases him to bring all men together in one people. So our salvation is not based on our individual piety alone. If you want to be a hermit today, just pray on your own, be holy, read all these books that I told you to read, that's not cutting it. Because what God really expects is once you get all that holy, make sure you bring your brothers and sisters with you. Okay? So the people of God is number one, everybody. And in community. That's why I think the Agustin movement is really such a great gift to the whole Catholic Church. Because all you're about is building what? Christian community. Right? That song, it's love, and all that other stuff. I kind of forget it. But you're trying to build community. And so, throughout history, God has done that. We started with what particular people? Anybody remember in the Old Testament? The Hebrews, yeah, the people of Israel. He went to Abraham and he said, because of your faithfulness, I'm going to call forth a great people. Your descendants will number more than the stars. And so that began a journey of not only, people being taken out of Egypt, across the desert, into Israel and Judah, but it began a journey of all humankind. Now, with Christ, what has happened to that particular selection of particular people? Is it still just the Hebrew people and the people of Israel? No, it's the Jews and the what? Gentiles. And who are the Gentiles? All of us, right? Because we're not Jewish. So now, it's, the progression was first the people of Israel, and then with Christ, we now have Jews and Gentiles, which means that basically everybody. Okay. So that's what that first paragraph is saying. Next, and who is the head of the church? We read in the second paragraph that the Messianic people has Christ for its head, who was delivered up for our sins and rose again for our justification. And he now reigns in glory in heaven. So what is our ultimate destiny? Where are we supposed to be? Heaven. Okay, so our destiny is heaven. With whom? Christ. Okay, and so now we look at the next paragraph, which starts Israel according to the